Hey everybody, Dana Mitchell here, and it's another episode of our podcast. And today's topic I'm very excited about. It's a really fun topic for people who are trying to get organized. We're going to talk about how to find wasted space in your house. And I love this idea of wasted space. There's so much of it in your home, and it's almost like a surprise of extra square footage when you know where to find it and then what to do with it once you find it. So today I'm going to give you some suggestions of places to look for more storage opportunities. And we're going to start with the refrigerator and the pantry. So the kitchen is a place that we all have extra space that we just didn't really know it was there. Typically in the refrigerator or the pantry, we line up items on a row or a shelf. The downside of this is you don't put a whole lot of items on the shelf. And it's because if you pile them too many deep, you're not going to be able to see what is sitting behind the items in the front. So a better way or another way is to try to use Lazy Susans in these areas. And I'll give you some examples of where you can do this. I have a Lazy Susan in the cabinet that is right next to the stove. And this is where I store all my cooking oils, cooking sprays. And so if I had piled them deep, I would have to remove items every time I was looking for something. So instead, I put a Lazy Susan in so I can just spin it around, find what I'm looking for, and then put it right back and close the cabinet. It's awesome. I have another Lazy Susan on the top shelf of the refrigerator. This is a location that I typically cannot really see because I'm 5'2". And so a Lazy Susan is a better way to utilize that shelf. And I use a 2-tiered Lazy Susan. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so you can see an example of what I'm talking about. So the great thing about having a Lazy Susan in the refrigerator is you can put all those little weird size tiny items that you are usually just piling up on the shelf, taking up a lot of space. You can put that on the Lazy Susan, and since it's 2-tiered, if you put it on the top shelf along with maybe your 2-liter bottles or your milk or anything that's tall, then it fills in that space really nicely. I also have another version of a Lazy Susan for spices. Spices are one of those items in the kitchen that are really hard to figure out where to put them, and then also they take up a weird amount of space. I use a Lazy Susan type spice carousel that is mounted inside the cabinet right next to the stove. And so that's a great way for me to store my spices, and it's mounted under the shelf. I just spin it around and get what I need, and then store the big bottles where I use those to refill this Lazy Susan. I store those in another location that I rarely have to get to. Another idea for spices is to consider storing them on the cabinet door. There are a lot of cool storage solutions for spices, and so I will put a link in the show notes to the Organized DIY Amazon store just so that you can take a look and see some of these products that I'm talking about. The second location that we're going to talk about for finding wasted space is the garage and the basement. There are tons of opportunities in these two areas, and in fact, I've written 2 blog posts about this recently. The first one is called Garage Storage Goes Vertical, and in this blog post on organizeddiy.com, I share several ideas of how to organize a garage using shelves, bins, cabinets, and my favorite solution is an overhead storage bin. Going vertical in a space is a great organizing tip, and this storage bin that I write about in the blog post is really cool. And there's lots of different types of these ceiling storage bins on the market. The client that I was working with wanted to have a quick and easy way to access these items. And the one we chose, I'll put a link to it, is a heavy-duty 4x4 foot cable lifted storage rack. And we chose that because it was delivered to the house. It could hold up to 250 pounds safely. And we added 16 square feet of storage, and it was really, really neat. The client also didn't want to have to manually wind the unit up and down, and he could use his drill to raise and lower the unit. So really, really cool. You'll need to go to that blog post and take a look at the pictures. So the second blog post that I referenced earlier was called Create Your Dream Craft Room from Basement Wasted Space. And this post tells you and shows you pictures of a makeover of a basement that was truly wasted space. The homeowner did not use it because it contained HVAC equipment and electrical panel. And so the cool tip out of this post is, even if you have an electrical panel that you need to be able to get to, you can still use that area for other things. And the tip from this post, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes, is to turn that area into something usable by using a hidden electrical panel cover. And I give directions in the post on how to do this, but basically what we did was we created a frame out of wood and used pegboard on the inside and put the whole thing on a heavy-duty piano hinge and then locked it with a slide bolt. So you could use the pegboard for whatever you needed, and then you could flip it open if you ever needed to get to the wires and things underneath. So the next suggestion is to utilize wall space and go up as high as you can, going vertical, up to the ceiling with shelves. For some reason, we think we shouldn't put shelves above eye level, and by doing that, you're giving up some really great opportunities to have more storage space. If you're afraid that the tall shelves won't look good, then use the top shelf for storage. Find some type of decorative bins, baskets, or something that looks good, and store things like off-season clothes, paper products, memorabilia, items that you don't get to very often. Another place to use this example is within your closets. A lot of times when you move into a house, maybe it was already built or it was a spec house and the builder put shelving in the closet for you, they only put the rack for the clothes and then one shelf. And if you have enough space inside up to the ceiling, put another shelf. And it's the same logic that it's an extra place where you can store out-of-the-way items. And if you have kids, this is a great shelf to put some type of solid color bin, not clear, and hide your Christmas presents in there from your kids. That way they can't get to them. Now let me tell you a personal story that's kind of interesting, and you might be able to recreate this in your own home. We have a first floor playroom for my daughter, and the ceilings are 10 feet downstairs. So that room actually has a closet that is not really that big, but it has double doors that open up. Well, this particular closet was driving me crazy because we had so much wasted space above the shelf in this closet, and I'm talking several feet of wasted space, and I needed to be able to store stuff in there. So we did something really crazy. I had my husband install a clothing rod almost to the ceiling in this closet. And we moved all our coats up to that clothing rod and our off-season clothes. So this is a playroom, and if you go in the closet and kind of look up, then you can see all these clothes hanging up high. But at eye level, it's all my daughter's toys and things that we want to close behind doors. So it turned out to be great. Now we do have to have a ladder, and we had to buy one of these really kind of funny clothing hook things that they have in department stores. You can get them online, and it's great. Nobody would ever know that that extra set of clothing is up there unless we show them. And so this is a tip for you. Look around in your house, in your closets, and see if there is space for an extra shelf or an extra clothing rod. So one last tip I'm going to give you is to use one of these over-the-door toiletry kind of holders or little shelf holders. And we've done this actually in our own home in our closet. The closet door is always open. So behind the closet door is about 6 inches of space, and we use one of these over-the-door shelving holders, and we put toiletries out of the way. And you would never know. Nobody ever goes in our closet but us. It's a great place that you can hide things out of sight. And while my daughter is young and small, she doesn't use ladders or anything to get to any items. So we have tucked up medicines and things that have the safety cap that she cannot get to right now. And so we've tucked them up there. And that way we can save on drawer space. But, of course, as she gets older and is more mobile and can get a hold of things, we're going to have to change that out and put those medicines in another location. But, again, toiletries, it's a great place to store those. I will put a link in the show notes so that you can see, again, what I'm talking about, one of these over-the-door shelving units. Well, okay, we have covered a lot of great stuff in a short amount of time, and hopefully you're finding this helpful. So I'm going to wrap up and summarize what we've talked about. So basically, how do you find wasted space in your house? Number one, look up. What's above your head? Is it open space? Can you add shelves, cabinets, or overhead storage in order to actually use that space that's wasted? Another way to find wasted space is to look around a room that you don't like to go in. Maybe you're afraid of it for some reason. What is the reason that you aren't using the space? Is it scary? Is it because you need more lighting, easier access to it, maybe some extra pest control? Figure out whatever that reason is that the space is wasted and find a solution to fix that, and then you can figure out how to use that extra new space. Some of the tips that we talked about today, using Lazy Susans in spice carousels or putting spices inside of cabinet doors. The last thing is look in your closets. Maybe you can add extra shelving in there as well. Well, this is all the time we have for today for the podcast. And if you found this podcast helpful, don't forget, go into iTunes and subscribe to the podcast. That way you will know when the next one comes out. And if you don't mind, go in and give a rating to the show. That way I know that you are out there and you're listening and that I should maybe keep doing these and that you find them helpful. If you're looking for organizing tips, make sure to visit our website. Thank you so much for joining me. I love doing these podcasts. Give me some feedback. Email me directly and tell me what you want to hear about. Thanks a lot. Have a great week and happy organizing.